Hello, Free Enterprise fans. Welcome to the Adamant Cup. This is our group stage. We have ourselves a defense sword matchup between the Bardic Panda and Zeke. This is our group match. So I'm Professor Render, and joining me is Rybon. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. I'm looking forward to this match because this is actually a pretty high stakes match right now. Zeke, being 2-1, playing his 4th out of 5 games in his group, is playing for what could very well be a victory and a guaranteed spot in the play-in game for the Defense Sword group. Meanwhile, a little bit of drama over on the Bardic Panda side, being 0-2, would have a difficult time making the play-in race if he fell to 0-3 here. So a lot on the line for both of our racers tonight.
Yeah, for sure. And we have ourselves some interesting interesting objectives here. We have a lot of underground related. We have a couple. Well, not underground, but we have a couple of different liberate completion objectives in our plate. We have two that's required. That the two Baron Key required objectives available. We have a couple of underground related ones, and then we have a couple like different things like burning down the mist and Zod, and we're starting it off with Kane as our lead hero.
Yeah, Kane is one of the better starters, I believe. Edge would probably be a little better. Some people would like to see a Rosa or a Tella, but Kane's right up there, a perfectly fantastic early game character that can equip a ton of stuff that you can find in Evelyn, Watery Path, or other locations to make the early game easy. And yeah, these are some very interesting objectives. We have the double Baron objective, so Baron Key locks 2 of them. Notably, we have no Moon objectives. We do have to complete the Giant of Babel, but we have no lunar subterranean altars, no cave value or anything like that. There's nothing pushing our runners up to the moon unless they have no other choice.
Yeah, given with these flag sets, we might just see some moon plays come up for key items that will be necessary to get the objectives completed. With this particular flag set, because I mean, given what we've seen thus far, it seems like the moon has to be the move to make to progress through it. At least from what I've seen.
The moon normally holds at least a little bit of value, but never guaranteed, and certainly not in this particular flag or this seed. So I'm looking forward to seeing whether Zeke or Bardic Panda decides to make an early moon dive. It'd be quite the gamble.
Yeah, it'll be quite a gamble to make. Now, of course, as we all know, like these are typically one of the best things to like the moon's great for getting items. Experience out of the way as we're underway. We start off with Tella, and we get a life staff for said Tella.
We do. Life staff, not exactly the key item you're looking for there, but Tella's not a bad partner at all. Comes with exit early on, so if you don't feel comfortable looting Evelyn Castle, that Watery Path is open to you. And one of the other items that we had in our starting kit were 2 Soma drops. Generally quite useful for Tella, Fu, pushing them from 190 to 100 and 200 MP, respectively, allowing Tella specifically to cast Meteor.
Yeah, and another thing too is that even with this, if I'm remembering this right, from a breeze I just saw recently, I won't say what, but Tella does also come with Blink. If I remember this right.
That's accurate. Very useful spell early on. Generally, if you have other white mages, say Porum, Rosa, you normally need to push them into like the mid-20s in order to get them to cast that Blink. But Tella comes with it out of the gate.
And we do see a vanilla Twin Harp from Bedward. So it depending on how you look at it, you either go immediately to get that harp started, or you fade it.
Certainly something you would make a decision on as you get a little more power. Of course, it's a little too early to dive that harp with just what we have now. Well, we're seeing some interesting looting decisions, though. So, as I mentioned, you start with that Tella, you start with that exit. You can full loot Watery Pass, and that is what both of our runners are doing. Bardic Panda after the bedward check, and Zeke just going straight at it. So, I haven't seen anything too special from Watery Pass. It generally had the same loot distribution as Ebling Castle without the trap chests, just the chests are a little more spread out. So, yeah, we'll see if this is apparently not really worth it right now, at least not according to Zeke, because out he goes.
Of note, what I saw was a ribbon from out of the front. Like, that was like the first thing that was picked up from Zeke.
Yep, ribbon, very useful item, but I think even more useful, that Ogre Axe that Bardic Panda found on the back side of the Watery Pass. We need a cane weapon to try to jumpstart our offense to get this game going. And Bardic Panda is up that weapon, whereas Zeke, I don't believe he found anything for that cane to equip.
No, this is just a case of Bardic Panda staying with the Watery Pass, and Zeke just gonna loot out the first floor, maybe come back for it if need be, or if not, that will be an Ogre Axe left on the table that's free. As we do see Kainazo and Edge on the Yang fight, the Yang spot.
Yeah, this is definitely a fight you take. Edge, one of the strongest characters, if not the strongest character that you can find in an ungated, unrestricted location. High rolled on the weapon too. We see Neki on, we have no armor on, we just have a random weapon of up to tier 3, I believe, and that middle sword is about as good as it gets with Edge.
Yeah, and of the early Kainazo too, you can, and with Tella being there, you have you can avoid waves really quickly just by just casting lid on him, just that doesn't happen if you're quick enough.
That is true, although even with the amount of HP that Kainazo has, I believe it's about 1200, 1300 HP at this spot. Kainazo's wave only does about 4% of his remaining HP. It's not too much of a threat, and certainly wasn't a threat for Zeke, who is through this fight and has his Edge in tow.
Yeah, it's great to see an early Edge. But like what you just said, if you're equipped with a full moon and ninja, that can get you quite a ways through the early game, leading up maybe pushing in towards the late game. Although that really depends. Of course, if you want to shoot farther, you're wanting to see that double masa.
Absolutely, and speaking of a full moon and ninja sword, we didn't quite find that. We found a boomerang and a ninja sword in the basement of Damsian Castle. So not a very common looting spot on this flag set. You'll normally see people head elsewhere. We'll see if Bardic or Zeke, and Zeke does. Zeke is going to be rewarded for this play, finding an ability to back row his Edge in addition to just fantastic weapons for the early game. Bardic Panda will also be happy once he heads up Hobbs and finds his ninja.
Also of note, there is a strength frame that you can put on that Edge.
Absolutely, that Edge is going to be quite beefy early on. Probably carry you through the majority of the overworld. I was expecting Kane to be a little bit of a carry, but no, Edge is seeing the spotlight pretty early.
Yeah, and that might be a factor that will come into play when it comes time to switching up to making a substitution for something like a Setsu or Fu or any of the mages.
Yep, that's true. I mean, as it is right now, we don't have too much of a pick for the rest of our party, but I'm sure like a very common setup for this particular flag set is 2 melees, someone who can cast, some kind of heal, some sort of white mage, and then an anchor. And we have 3 of those 4 pieces right now. Kane and Edge are perfectly fine melees to be berserked, and Tella is a perfectly fine utility mage that doubles up as the anchor. We're just missing our white mage.
Yeah, and there's we do know that we can also check the Baron Castle for said white mage.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We have plenty of character checks required on this flag set. We have to do, the package for the character. We don't actually have to get the character, but we do have to do the package cutscene at the very least. Liberate Baron Castle for another one, 2 of them from the Tower of Zot. additionally launch the Falcon, which means we have to do the hook route. That's another character, and one more behind the Giant. We're going to find, plenty of character. Then this party is going to look very different an hour from now, if not 30 minutes from now.
Yeah, that's a nice thing about this particular objective set. We might be seeing a vastly different party between two players here.
Yep, I don't know the preferences of both of our runners tonight. Some may prefer mages, some may prefer berserkers, some may just take what the seed gives them. But yeah, we absolutely could see two very different, divergent parties at the end of this.
Yeah, and just speaking from personal experience, I with this particular flag set where Cecil and Fusoya are restricted, if I see a Cecil and it's early enough, I take it. There's no doubt about it. I would, and at that point, I am hoping to find either an X-Cal or a Crystal Sword, just to have that Cecil go be online to carry the rest of the game all the way through.
Absolutely. Some people have begun calling Cecil, at least on this flag set, the guy. The entire point is trying to find the guy who will just carry the seed for the rest of the year. But will we find the guy today?
We'll have to see as we later on. Meanwhile, Zeke doing a bit of shopping, find some silk webs that will help in various utility, as well as nerfing big bangs when it comes to the Z fight.
It's true. The silk webs are very useful elsewhere, other than Zeromus as well. If you happen to have an anchor situation that is suboptimal, the silk web can cure what ails you. But I think that Zeke will probably be fine with that Tella if he decides to hold on to it.
And all right, we're going to see now from Bardic Panda, one of our first crystal or key item related bosses. That is Rubicante at the antline spot.
Yep, Ruby is pretty tame here. Only 1,000 HP at this spot, and generally just goes down super quickly. That Edge is doing a ton of damage. That Cane is doing a ton of damage. We are going to be rewarded with a Rat Tail, which isn't required, but you know what? Definitely have the opportunity to turn it at some point because we do have to launch the Falcon. And on the other side, Zeke is doing something very bold, in my opinion, heading down Cave Magnes. He believes he has the power to handle whatever is here with that ninja sword, that back road edge, that strength ring. He thinks he can get through, and we're going to be rewarded with a very early music check.
Yeah, and this is an interesting move. Some people will just fade the harp outright until it comes down to it, or in what Zeke's doing is just once he feels like he's ready, just go ahead and get that started right away.
And at the same time, too, very bold for Zeke to just fade any type of saving here, but did find that power shirt. That is a very, very powerful edge for a 10-minute feed. I'm looking forward to the amount of damage he can do here.
Yes. Before we head into that music, I will point out that Bardic Panda finds a Palom next to a Mom Bomb.
Well, that's an unfortunate location for the Mom Bomb. I believe this is Baron in 1, and if so, this is one of the locations you don't actually want to find them. Very high explosion. Should be able to get through with a quick flame here, but otherwise, yeah. We'll have to hope that there's nothing too dangerous at Baron in 2, but I believe we'll be getting music momentarily. And the music will be me humming. Unfortunately, we're having a little bit of technical difficulties on Zeke's side, and music will remain a mystery to us for a short term until the Bardic Panda likely heads on down there. Sorry to everyone in the chat. What is that nasty music? That's me. Stop asking, Dark Elf. Stop judging me. Meanwhile, back on Bardic Panda side, a big bomb took care of the dolls at the Baron in 2 spot. Very good use of J items by Bardic Panda, understanding what he had in tow. He's rewarded with a Luca key, which isn't required again, but we're still acquiring all those key items. We're at 3 out of 10 now, about 30% of the way toward getting our double XP for Bardic Panda's party. And on Zeke's side, we find a Valvalis. Not a fun fight at all. And down goes the Edge. This is going to be a difficult time for Zeke to try to recover from this situation.
Yeah, this one's a little rough. Like, Val is a weird character to find. That's a weird boss to find. Just it's that high magic defense, or that high defense, or agility, or evasion, or I don't know. There's something that makes Val annoying.
Indeed, Val has some very high evasion at some locations. It's pretty much invulnerable to magic at certain locations as well. And you can't really wait her out sometimes just because she will continually stone your party. Can become relatively simple to defeat though if you have Blink, which Tella does. We'll see if we have some Blinks coming out on Zeke's side eventually. Kayn as well, in tow, very useful. Jumping actually may not be the best strategy here, however, because by jumping, you allow Val to attack more often. Rather, a potential thing I've seen other runners do is to just, well, get through, which is the best course of action for Zeke. Well done on it for him getting through the particular fight.
Yeah, I will also mention too that the Bardic Panda is up in ordeals and finds a full moon.
Well, you said full moon ninja sword about 5 minutes ago, and you have spoken it into existence. Also found a protector ring as well, giving a little bit of survivability to the Bardic Panda's edge.
And then over on Zeke's side, even though it doesn't give you a key item, you do like to see a Murasame.
It's not the Masamune we want, but hey, it's better than a full moon at least. Zeke's edge is certainly more powerful with that power shirt and the Murasame than the Bardic Panda. So I'm not sure if Zeke is too happy with his time investment down there in music, but at the very least, his edge is ready to clear everything left on this overworld in a relatively fast amount of time.
Yeah, and it's interesting to point to this, to actually for that move for Zeke in particular to head down there. And yes, it may not have been rewarded with a key item, but it's better than nothing. Especially with this current party.
Well, absolutely. If you found like a stack of samurai arrows down there, you'd feel insulted. But Zeke at least found a usable, functional item, and you can't be too unhappy about that.
Yeah, for sure. In the meantime, Bardic Panda was going through fighting Bahamut. Took that out pretty quickly over on the Mylon and Friends spot. And we do find DKC on the Mylon Z spot.
So, rather low damage here. Edge, of course, is in fantastic shape to endure all 3 of these hits, as is Tella and Kayn. That paddled in a little bit of danger, but we can always pick them up.
Yeah, this is actually a good spot for DKC in general.
Yeah, absolutely. And that DKC just wants to talk to us about justice for a little bit, blah, blah, blah. Yes, I've heard the story before. Why don't you just crumble and go away, please? Zeke, however, through the Antlion Cave, has his rat tail in tow. And we'll see where he goes next. With the amount of power he has, he could do some checks that Bardic Panda may feel a little uncomfortable doing. Say, Baron in, which some people will route in when they have sufficient power prior to ordeals. But hopefully he doesn't fade ordeals too much, and I don't think he will with that Tella in tow. By completing ordeals, he unlocks that Tella and gets a lot more utility spell than Tella currently has.
So as Bardic Panda enters the training grounds, Tella's spells will be online, media will be online. We'll potentially get a key item from this.
Not quite. I mean, tasty, but I guess the real reward was the spells we learned along the way.
Yeah, I mean, it's also ironic that My Line of Friends also ends up being here, just a minor shuffle of the bosses here.
So, as our tracker Warlink has pointed out, we have checked everything on the overworld -1 location, Fabul defense. So, logically, that has to be our underground access, or at least the path to our underground access. It could still hold something like a Baron Key, or something like that, which could further gate our underground access, or an Earth Crystal, but either way, the path forward is behind defending Fabul.
Yeah, and I think too, if the Baron Key were to show up, that means, I mean, you don't want to discredit that. That's two objectives right off the gate.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure both of our runners would be thrilled to find that Baron Key, now, rather than finding it an hour from now down at an Ogopogo altar or something like that. Simultaneously, it's another character check, and they may not be too happy with their party right now. They don't exactly have a good healing option or anything like that.
Yeah, and of note too, Evelyn Castle has not been visited by either player, because the opening route for both players, not identical, it's very identical, like to the T, was the front of Watery Pass.
Yep, I've seen this more and more as the Adamant Cup has gone on, and even the meta has just been shifting slowly. In practice runs, whether in acings or pickup races prior to the Adamant Cup, we would see lots and lots of Eblin Castle first, without even checking Bedward, and now I'm just seeing less and less Eblin Castle. A lot of people are now holding it off until they feel they're confident enough to be able to handle the trap chest in there, trying to single dip Eblin rather than double dip it.
Yeah, I'm used to just going for the double dip either way. In my opinion, we do see Zeke ends up wiping to the Calbrenas.
So close. Threw a ninja fire out there at the last moment, but unfortunately left one blue doll up, which had just enough power to knock down his edge from 100 HP to 0. So that is a little bit of a time loss for Zeke. I'm sure he wish he had that one back, but now he's better prepared for the situation and ready to better handle these two fights. Meanwhile, Bardic Panda heading down the Cave Magnes will be giving us our music check again, and I believe we'll be actually shutting up for music this time around.
Yeah, even though Bardic Panda, as for what we know, what we know is that even though Bardic Panda will not get any key item from it, he will get a Murasame from this. So this won't sting him too much unless he chooses to just to leave it.
And very importantly, too, Bardic Panda, picking up a few chests on the way down, did pick up that same chest that Zeke did, picked up that power shirt. We're going to have parity on both of our ninjas today. I thought that Zeke would be able to hold on to that power shirt advantage a little longer, but we have even.
Yeah, not to mention, too, we also found a black shirt for that Palon.
Sometimes it pays to be a loot goblin, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I play it, to just do everything as much as possible to get over any hump.
These are some very punchy dolls, unfortunately. Edge goes down here, and Zeke takes a reset.
Okay, so for real this time, we're gonna get our music. So we'll stay quiet for a little bit, let you enjoy this rendition from Edward.
Yeah, I hope it's Tetris music. And Bardic Panda is through. I believe that was not Tetris music. Some kind of chocobo theme.
Yeah, I couldn't recognize until I heard the chocobo theme. I was like, oh, okay, so this is something chocobo related.
We may find out at the end if what game that was actually from. Unless chat can help us out a little bit. Regardless, Zeke is choosing to fade ordeals here. Heading up at Fabul will find his underground access, or at least the path to his underground access at this location. I'm sure Bardic Panda, out of other options, will be following Zeke in his footsteps very shortly.
Yeah, at this point, if you saw the Murasame from Bardic Panda, you don't feel all that happy, considering you're looking for a key item and just came up with that. But even then, you have an edge, so you're obviously not turning it down. You're not going to reset out of that because it's a Murasame. You have an edge. Just you want to keep that.
Absolutely. I mean, even that XP early on, it's only about, I think, 6, 7, 9k around there, but it's valuable. Every little bit of XP you can get early on is very valuable. So with an exit caster, there's no harm out there in just walking it out or exiting it out. But here we are, Fabul defense. We're going to have dueling Fabul defense. We'll see who gets through it first. But who could it be? Who could ruin our day? I can tell you that much, though. It can't be a Wyvern or a Golbez.
Yeah, any of those fights is not all that well. But we do find elements. Okay, that's actually manageable.
I wouldn't be surprised if the edge attack here kills it. It does for Bardic Panda, and it does for Zeke. So very even on completing that. Just have to remember though that Bardic Panda is up and ordeals clear, whereas Zeke is not.
Yes, and by extension, Bardic Panda has those has the spells from Tella, whereas Zeke does not. And we do know that we have to go through the hook route for underground access, which, to be fair, that's not a big deal because we have an objective on our hands.
Although we do have one out, which is that rat tail we still need to turn in. There could be a magma key behind that. There could be a path to a magma key. We don't know. We'll see if our runners remember that hook tail or that rat tail is still in their inventory.
That's true. I completely forgot about that.
And it looks like Bardic Panda is either has forgotten about the rat tail or has decided that it's just not worth the trouble. I want to go loot an Evelyn. Zeke, however, seems to be heading to the east to turn in the rat tail, so we are going to figure out what that is relatively shortly.
Yeah, and this will be interesting now. Interesting to see if this is a magma key from Zeke's side, because if it is, then yes, you still have to do the hook route, but it'll be a lot more easier. But we do get a pink tail and a subsequent adamant armor.
So that is huge. It looks like, yes, you have to do the hook route now to get underground. But you know what makes the hook route a whole lot easier? That most overpowered item in any Final Fantasy ever, the adamant armor. And if Bardic Panda is going to march down that hook route without turning in that rat tail, he's going to be at a huge disadvantage.
Yeah, the fact that you find a pink tail right next to the rat tail, you feel really good about that, because now you can roll through the rest of this early game without an issue, and probably even into the late game.
Yes, that adamant armor, there is nothing better for any character in this game. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he gets slapped onto Edge very shortly. And Edge just is practically immune to all damage except for non-elemental and percent-based damage and just rolls over everything. There's very few things on that hook route that could ruin Edge's day right now.
Yeah, and in the meantime, so that also means now both players are in Eblin Castle trying to loot out everything, and it looks like from what we can gather, all 3 trap chests are on the right side.
I think we'll see Zeke take them. Hopefully he remembers to equip that adamant armor if he hasn't already. Bardic Panda, however, just going straight down the hook route right now. There's plenty of variables that can still skew this in the Bardic Panda's favor. For example, could find a Cecil down there on the hook route. He's done Ordeal, Zeke hasn't. Could find, an Excalibur in one of these trap chests if he happens to find the Sailman here in the Cave Eblin, which he just did.
Yeah, speaking of the Stalebend, that's a nice thing to see. So these Stalemen won't last too long.
Nope, not for the amount of power that Bardic Panda has on his party. Whether it's a virus from the Palom or just a few quick hits from Edge, these Stalemen will go down as long as they don't put our party to sleep first. And with the T Wildish flag on, there could be literally anything behind this chest.
Yeah, and Zeke does put on that adamant armor on that Edge, along with the headband, so he's ready to go for these trap chests.
That Edge is looking pretty swollen on Bardic Panda's side. May not have an Edam armor, but with that Moss immune and now Murasame, may be very close to being best in slot. Just may not be as survivable as Zeke's.
Yeah, having the Muramasa combo is great until you find that double Masa. And yeah, as you're pointing out, it might not be as bulky, considering Zeke's play for the rat tail that leads into an adamant armor. But we'll see if Zeke opts to follow that same idea and check the Staleman inside Cave Eblin to get that Masa.
Yep. If Zeke is not feeling powerful enough, then he very well may. But who knows what he's going to find behind the 3 trap chests here in Eblin, the first one going down right about now. Meh, that's a womp, unfortunately. Silent Staff, Tilla can equip it, but we don't. He may end up being our white mage. I don't think it's likely, but yeah, it's not what you're looking for in this particular location. But wow, we're finding a lot of power shirts.
Yeah, even though you don't want to see a Silent Staff there, you still have 2 other trap chests to go. So you could still find either a secondary adamant armor, or you can find something like a crystal sword if you find a Cecil around the route, or anything like that. Although Bardic does find a cursed rain, so we could see Tella become that anchor in due time.
Yep, at this point, anyone can be your anchor, except for maybe Edge. With that cursed ring, you can turn Palom into your anchor. You can turn Tella into your anchor. You can let him get leveled, and it's perfectly fine. That is a big advantage for Bardic Panda that Zeke currently does not have. Zeke could pick it up on his way down, but I'm not sure if he's going to feel very incentivized to do a full loot of Cave Eblin on the way down. But oh, you said Crystal Sword. Hey, there's one.
Yeah, I threw my hands up, just like yeah, that you if you find a Cecil here, then you're good. At least, well, Zeke will still have to go up Ordeal, but if Bardic Panda decides to come back to Eblin Castle and find the Lamnia chest, then you're pretty much good. However, since there is no Cecil here in Cave Eblin, we find a Yang instead.
Yep, that is good for Zeke and bad for Bardic Panda. Bardic Panda would love to find a Cecil sooner rather than later, because he's already unlocked the Paladin for, through doing Ordeal, where Zeke has not. That Yang, not who you want to see here, and that boss, also not exactly someone Bardic Panda wants to see. That is about 25,000 HP worth of Evil Wall, which is going to be a whole lot easier for Zeke. That Evil Wall can literally not kill whoever happens to be wearing that adamant armor, but those front row edge, well, back row edge may be able to tank a few hits, but won't be immune. At least won't have the same protective level as Zeke's edge.
Yeah, and Zeke ends up finding an Excalibur from the Mad Ogre chest. So it's a dart. So that's a dart. So something you want to like find out. Oh, and Zeke is gonna opt to get that ordeal play going in case, because I get it. You found Chris. You found 2 holy swords. You want to see Cecil sometime in the near future. You might as well take advantage of what you found in Evelyn and just get Paladin Cecil online, get Tell the Spells online as soon as possible.
Yeah, I like the play. Ordeals with that Crystal Sword and or Excal, Crystal Sword specifically. Yeah, you definitely want to be able to use Cecil the moment you find him. And you're also going to want to prioritize character checks as much as possible to find him as quickly as possible. Transfer that Adamant armor off edge onto Cecil, slap that Crystal Sword on him, and just roll through everything, not just on the overworld, not in the underworld, but even on the moon and through Doromus himself. We got to find the guy, and Zeke is all about finding him right now. And at the same time, too, with the amount of power that Zeke has, he will get through this ordeal a little bit quicker than Bardic Panda did.
Oh, for sure, yeah. This Bahamut right here, it's not really that scary. Oh, excuse me, that's scary. Like, see, like that virus that Paladin had casted, that just was enough to take it down without even a single count.
Yep, while it took, I believe, Edge 3 or 4 attacks on Bardic Panda side, that Bahamut was not long for the world. If I remember correctly, who is here at the second spot? It's Dark Knight Cecil. You would actually be quicker to kill him rather than listen to a speech about justice.
But it's going to opt to, I believe, take the cutscene.
Fair enough. May not be too much of a time difference.
No, either way, you're gonna have to go through a crumble anyway.
Yeah, I don't believe we found any kamikaze, so crumble was probably unavoidable in this situation. Back over on Bardic Panda side, decided to take that trap chest over in Castle or Cave Evelyn, was rewarded with the Moss Immune. Now doing the second trap chest on the way down the hook route against these Mad Ogres. An interesting wrinkle here is he attempted to try to steal some Bacchus here to speed up against that particular demon wall waiting for him, but is rewarded with an Adamant. We have Adamant parity now.
Oh, that's actually really nice for Bardic Panda. And if Bardic Panda chooses to turn in that rat tail, he will be up an Adamant armor, and that could be put on literally anyone. If we find like a Cecil, or if we find like I don't know, maybe like you could probably slap it onto your mages if they're well along with their spells.
Absolutely. Adamants are great. I mean, they have diminishing returns. 1 Adamant is fantastic. 2 Adamants are good. 3 Adamants are meh. 4 Adamants are, we have too many Adamants. But yeah, that second Adamant is, I mean, finding that Adamant there is a huge advantage because Bardic Panda is eventually going to head back up, turn in that rat tail, find his second Adamant. So that Bardic Panda is definitely in the lead on looting right now, minus the Crystal Sword and Excalibur that Zeke has previously found.
Yeah, now it'll be interesting to see if Zeke opts to take that Mad Ogre chest too. If he does, then we're also in parity between Adamant armors at that point.
Yep. I'm not sure if Zeke will. He may feel a little behind having done so many trap chests already and looted a lot, but maybe he just feels like he needs more power, and he'll certainly get it if he takes these 2 trap chests on the way down to our first spot Asura hook route.
Yeah, like, and so I guess like the nice thing too is that we do also have. I mean, so for Bardic Panda to get back to the race, finding Asura, that's manageable if you just throw a wall, and that way the healing does not apply any further. So Bardic Panda is actually opting to take this evil wall fight. Now, Bardic Panda does have a ribbon. I don't know if it's on the edge. That's the thing.
That's true. So if you do, take too long to kill the evil wall, you'll eventually enter something called Crush Phase, where every 2 turns he will instantly kill one of your characters. That is, unless they are immune to instant death effects, and there are 2 items in this game that will prevent that from happening. One being the ribbon, and the other being the Adamant armor. And Bardic Panda has both.
Okay, so with Edge, so if Bardic Panda's fighting that Adamant armor, he'll be pretty much set to set, because that way you don't have to worry too much about Crush Phase, and even damage for that matter. Because like look at it, Edge is only doing dealing 1 point of damage per punch on Evil Wall.
Yep, I just want to emphasize how huge it was that Bardic Panda found that Adamant. Seeing how much damage Kane is taking right now, 375 a shot, seeing how quickly this Evil Wall is moving in the Rubicon spot. Without that Adamant armor, Bardic Panda would have a much more challenging time than he currently is now, but as it is, all he has to do is hold A and pray.
Yeah, and even then, you could make the argument of going maybe if you happen to have a Bacchus line, you could just throw that on and then just let Edge go. You just control her down and you don't worry about the Crush Phase. Like here it is right now.
Yep. Now, it is unfortunate that Bardic Panda doesn't have a Bacchus line. He'd be getting inputs and attacks in far more quickly than he is right now, so this fight will take a little longer. About 25,000 HP, we're looking at about maybe 18 attacks coming from Edge here. But we're well on our way, and this evil wall will fall eventually. Meanwhile, Zeke is actually taking the trap chest on the way down here. He's going to find his Moss Immune from these 2 Stalemen, may loot on the way down, pick up a curse ring, and could find his second Adamant armor as well.
Yeah, and this was what I was curious about if Zeke were to keep going with this with the looting. He will get rewarded with a Masa. So his Muramasa strat will be online.
Yep, he had as powerful as an Edge as you're going to get for the most part, minus a Zeus gauntlet and maybe something like a headband if we don't already have a headband. I finally get to see the shops down here. Coffin and Hourglass 2, they're not a bad combination. Definitely would pick up 5 of each for time being to speed up some free fights. But otherwise, nothing really too interesting in these shops. But back on Bardic Panda side, he is through the hook route at about 39 minutes.
Yeah, the fact that you find the Adamant armor before you fight the 2 hook routes bosses is big. That is a big thing to find.
Yeah, that turned a very difficult hook route into child's play for Bardic Panda, and whether it was luck or whether it was a very mature understanding that he was going to have a hard time with it, so he took his chances to try to spike something big. Either way, it worked.
Yeah, and that will also get Bardic Panda's first objective on the board, and will also be the first objective of the night.
Yep, here comes that number 6 on Bardic Panda side at just over the 40-minute mark tonight. So yeah, that's we have seen some seeds that take a while, and I think for the most part, finding your first objective or completing your first objective around the 30-40 minute mark is pretty normal. Meanwhile, we're seeing Zeke opting to take that Yang, which is an interesting choice. That Tella provides a lot of utility to include exit, and Zeke is no longer going to have it.
I think the reasoning for him picking it up was because he had cat claws. He found cat claws, and Yang really wants those cat claws. So knowing that, he opts to pick up Edge. Now, I do think it's an interesting move to get rid of Tella in that situation, in favor of going for a primarily melee heavy party composition. But we'll see if this works out for Zeke.
Yeah, it definitely could work out. I probably would have dropped the Palom myself rather than the Tella, because the Tella provides more utility and is also an anchor. Zeke unfortunately looted a few chests on the way down Cave Evelyn, but skipped that chest that had the curse ring, so he doesn't have a good anchor selection right now. Surprisingly enough, if you take that that Charm Claw and that Cat Claw off of Yang, he may be your best anchor in this situation. But regardless, Bardic Panda over on the other side, heading down Dwarf Castle, probably really wants a Cecil right now. Finds 2 D-Lunars, which shouldn't be too bad. Actually, might be pretty bad because there are some things that the Adamant Armor doesn't protect against. One of them being these fires coming out, and another one being the viruses. If you happen to attack the D-Lunars, they will begin to cast them back at you.
Yeah, and that's why Bardic Panda's opting to go for Flame Ninjutsu strats. Oh, here's Zeke picking up that, getting the Mad Ogre chest. So he will be rewarded with an Adamant armor.
Zeke making the right play here. May opt to try to steal a couple Bacchus wine from these Mad Ogres as well to potentially speed up his fight against the Evil Wall, but even if he doesn't, he'll at least have 2 melee fighters, probably going on Kane, the second Adamant armor, to DPS down that Evil Wall a little faster.
Yeah, but it looks like from the looks of things, Zeke doesn't want to grab some Bacchus wine. Instead just wants to take it down as quickly as possible. Here's Rosa from the Dwarf Castle character. Okay, so you're getting rid of Balam here.
I definitely agree with the drop here of dropping the Palom. The Palom doesn't really bring anything right now. With a Muramasa Adamant Armor Edge, you have all the offense you need. You don't need Quake Kid. With Rosa, she brings, sustained, decent healing, actually great healing, that Tella doesn't. Tella, however, brings a bunch of utility that Rosa simply does not have. She doesn't have Exit until we complete Zot. She doesn't ever learn Warp, and we have that Luca key burning a hole in our pockets. We'd like to go down there eventually, and he's a great anchor. So this is an end game party right here. I probably wouldn't switch anybody out if I was Bardic Panda, unless it happens to be the guy.
Exactly. Zeke is wanting to lock in that Adamant armor in case this fight becomes an issue from the King Queen Evelyn spots. And I don't blame him. You found 2 Adamant armors. You want to lock that in as soon as possible.
Absolutely. Zeke is definitely up on equipment. He had those 2 Holy Swords. He has 2 Adamant armors to Bardic Panda's 1. Bardic Panda, however, is up the key item check down here in Dwarf Castle and through the hook route. So time-wise, Bardic Panda is probably about 3, 4, maybe 5 minutes ahead of Zeke. But Zeke, with the equipment advantage that he has, could definitely close that gap in a very quick amount of time.
Yeah, that's like the main difference between what we saw from Bardic Panda and Zeke. Zeke wanting to play the chess game and just find something that will help in the late game. Whereas Bardic Panda wanted to go just for speed and nothing else. So, and then I'm also getting some chests along the way if it helps, if it benefits them. And well, we saw it ended up benefiting him immensely with that Adamant armor on the Mad Ogres.
The Bardic Panda completed Dwarf Castle was rewarded with a Sand Ruby. That being a gated character check could be our Cecil, could push Bardic Panda back to the overworld sooner rather than later, and lead him to remember, oh wait, I have a Rat Tail to turn in, which would end up getting him his Adamant parity.
In the meantime, Bardic Panda is opting to go ahead and head into the Fey Barge, looking for the 5 guards or whatever it was.
5 warriors, yes.
The 5 warriors, yes. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, an interesting trap chest down here. One I don't see people take very often. Looks like he's trying to avoid it for the time being. Probably believes he has sufficient power with that Adamant edge, and I'd probably agree with him at this point. If I were either one of these racers, I'd probably be done looting by this point.
Yeah, I think at this with what we saw from our combined knowledge of the looting that we've seen from both players, we're in a good position that we no longer need to loot. We have Edge as our permanent party member. We have Kane might be in a spot if we can find something good for him in the future. Rosa has Artemis bow and samurai arrows, so she's good to go. I think at this point your party is for the most part locked in unless you find Cecil.
Alternatively, I would also consider dropping. If I was Bardic Panda, I consider dropping the Tele for a Fu, because with that curse ring, you could definitely turn him into a fantastic anchor that can also do stuff other than lie on the ground. And at the same time, too, I might take Fu if I were Zeke over a Rosa, just simply because Fu comes fully functional, fully powered out the box, whereas Rosa, she takes a little bit of investment.
Yeah, we'll see see what happens if once Zeke is through the hook route.
Which shouldn't be too long, with both Kane and Edge being able to throw blows out here, throwing punches. This evil wall will crumble shortly, eventually. Doing about 3k a round compared to Bardic Panda 1600 a round from his solo Edge, so yeah, a little bit of a damage advantage on Zeke's side.
Yeah. Now, I think we're also approaching Crush phase. But which shouldn't be an issue because Kane and Edge are both outfitted with adamant armors, from what I can tell. So they're never gonna fall.
Yep, there is no danger to either one of these characters, and down goes the evil wall, going down at about 48 minutes and 11 seconds. So through the hook route behind Bardic Panda, I want to say by about 8 to 9 minutes. That Bardic Panda, of course, had that little bit of a lead because he's been bum rushing stuff, skipped Evelyn Castle entirely. But with that loot advantage, I mean, Zeke is catching up. Watch out, Panda.
Yeah, and speaking of Bardic Panda, we did manage to see the Fey March spots. Octomam on Ashura this isn't too bad.
Certainly not too bad with an adamant armor, especially with a back road adamant armor. Fighter. This is a pretty punchy spot. That Rosa goes down in one shot. That Tela got hit for about 1200. That Kane goes down in one shot as well. But this Edge, again, the power of the adamant armor, the most overpowered item ever in a Final Fantasy game, at least in my opinion. Taking 1 damage in the back row. If he was front row, however, he may be taking about 100 damage, 200 damage per shot. This is a very punchy spot.
Yeah, and it helps that Bardic Panda ended up for a little bit had full moon and ninja sword, so he was already well equipped with the back row. So by the time he had went to do swapped it up with the Barabasa combo, his that back row bit was still active. G back row is turned on with this flag set, so yeah, that talent Edge is staying in the back row for the rest of the game.
Yep. Now that's something that's going away in our bracket flags, which is coming up after these group stages. G back row is off, so that will be a wrinkle that racers who make it to the round of 32 and beyond will need to keep in mind. But for tonight, yeah, Edge, you get to stay back there as much as you would like.
Yeah, enjoy while it lasts, because when it comes to the group, once you get to the brackets, the being mindful of who is in the back row is vital.
Absolutely. I think we'll see many times, at least in the round of 32, people will forget that the back row glitch is off. And then we will have people sitting with edges doing half damage because they thought they back rowed him, whereas Sid, he started with a bow, of course he's back rowed, right? Well, this is new in version 4.5. We used to always have the back row glitch on because it was an integral part of the game, but no longer. And we are through that Octomam over there on Panda's side. Let's see what we get rewarded from this Feymar spot. You don't hate it.
Yeah, it's not the worst thing you could have found.
It's a tier 7. If you find Sirens, you're one-shotting every single egg. And if you find a Dragon Boss, Wyvern, a Pale Dim, D-Lunars are already dead, so it's too late for that. But that Kane will be doing some work.
Yeah, and I also will point out, because I guess I forgot, I couldn't analyze it until Bardic Panda was through. There is a Yang over on the Leviathan spot too. So that's an interesting little wrinkle too.
Yeah, you would like a Cecil for this to try to one-shot him after he kicked the second time, but we don't have that available, so we're just going straight in. And again, shouldn't be too difficult with that that back row edge. We'll see the power of Adamant armor yet again. Zeke has chased Bardic Panda down here, and Zeke is giving us a check that Bardic Panda did not. Checking that Feymarch freebie, finding the package which is required this seed, and also could be a Cecil.
Yes. Now, for Bardic Panda's sake, you'll have to, once he's done with the two summon checks here in the Feymarch, then he goes back to that chest.
Yes, for his sake, I hope he remembers. He has a Tela. He may forget. He may just exit out, and that would definitely hurt his time. It's an easy check to forget. You may just be so focused on killing the bosses here because I have an Adamant. I'm immune. I'm the king of the world. And you forget your freebie, unfortunately. It certainly has never happened to me, no.
I mean, I'll believe it. Yeah, like it. I've like real talk. I've never had that happen, like ever, because I am aware that's a free that's a spot you get a key item from. I don't ever like forget about it. Like at least currently, sometime it might happen.
Yeah, but let me tell you, race nerves are a real thing. When you're playing a tournament race one-on-one, it's different than playing, some pickup race or an async or just a single practice race. I mean, you forget things, for better or for worse. But I'm just hoping for Bardic Panda's sake, just like you, that that is not the case here. Now, I want to note, go ahead, two other things real quick. Zeke checked Tamra, found Bacchus wines, which is something that Bardic Panda did not. That is just an item you use to instantly berserk your party and get through. It pretty much is a white mage in a bottle, so that is a huge advantage for Zeke right now. Simultaneously, also found sirens down here. I'm not sure, I think Bardic Panda did as well, but I'm not sure if he picked any up. I think we may see Zeke do a quick grind.
Yeah, and I will also point this out too. Zeke actually opted to, he saw the two spots, the two summons, and opted to fail to not bother with it.
So we know, at least from up here in the booth, because we know everything, or at least everything we've been shown, that that Asura spot, not valuable. Dragoon Spear is cool and all, but not worth the time investment. We're going to find out very shortly whether this karate is acquired, however, and Zeke is going to be punished for fading those two spots.
Yeah, if that's the case, then this becomes a little bit interesting dilemma. With Zeke getting the package, and Bardic Panda currently has not. If this Yang gives us something that we need, then we're going to be in a situation where one or two.
That is required.
Yeah, that's it. I was just gonna say. So, both players are like currently. Should Bardic Panda not check the chest, check the chest in the middle, which looks like that's going to be the case. Okay, so if Bardic Panda did not go to that chest, we would be in a situation where Zeke and Bardic Panda would have had the two items necessary on opposite sides. Bardic Panda, knowing that he just wanted to go for the bosses first and then get the chest item, will be rewarded and will actually be up a objective compared to Zeke. Yeah,
I definitely agree with that analysis. For the time being, I'd have to award Bardic Panda a lead right now over Zeke, just due to having done that karate at Leviathan spot, finding that Earth Crystal, up a key item that's absolutely required. Hopefully Zeke makes his way back to the Feymarch in the near future to take out those two fights, because otherwise that lead that Bardic Panda has is probably going to grow.
Yes. Now from what I can imagine, Zeke might not be comfortable with this spot. Into that, Zeke does have those two Adamant armors on both Kane and Edge. This is this is a manageable fight. You're not really scared of taking massive damage from either party member.
Oh, and we're seeing something interesting from Bardic Panda side. Opted not to check that rat tail prior to the hook route. Checking it now will be rewarded with his pink tail and adamant armor. And we'll have adamant parity yet again.
So this is actually really good news for Bardic Panda. Seeing the pink tail, he will be elated to see that this will also lead into a adamant armor that will lead to Kane being a permanent party member in the future.
Yeah, I wonder if Bardic Panda feels a little behind right now, because he's probably thinking, wait a second, I could have turned this in before I did that hook route. He may just feel rather lucky or rather fortunate that he found that adamant armor down there in the Mad Rift chest in Upper Babel, which I would agree with that assessment to an extent, but he may feel behind because he may be thinking, crap, Zeke probably turned this in. Zeke probably found this. I might be a little behind right now.
Yeah, so with that being said, Bardic Panda is going to go ahead and chase down that Earth Crystal heading into Zod in the coming couple minutes.
So Bardic Panda doing what is pretty much a maxim in the community: do your objectives. You have 7 of them. Do them, especially if they yield key items, because very often we'll see one required key item chain into another required key item. But we're apparently going to see a treasury loot before we head up that Tower of Zod. So it's time to play our favorite game.
Great! That's treasury!
Hey! Glass and, okay. Ooh, White Spear for, Kane. That's great.
That Avenger is the real treasure here right now. Don't throw it away. Don't throw it away. All right, thank goodness. But, throw more stuff away because your inventory is full.
Yeah. Or just equip something. Yeah, don't the black sword.
No, dealing with the inventory boss right now happens to the best of us, happens to all of us, happens to everyone. Sometimes we just like looting too much, and it takes a little bit of time to clear it out. And we're back on the looting ribbon. Not bad, second ribbon. And I didn't see the last 2 chests, I'm afraid.
Oh yeah, those two also got missed as well. But I would say, like, even though we don't know the other 2, that was a pretty solid treasury.
Absolutely, that Avenger, the true treasure, pretty much Kane's best weapon in my opinion. Sure, we got a White Spear and that has some nice abilities and all that, but that Avenger, especially for Bardic Panda who didn't find the Bacchus Wines in Tamra, he's got a permanently angry Dragoon on his hide. And we're seeing a check here from Zeke. Bardic Panda did not check Kaipo for a Cecil, probably for the best because there's no Cecil here. There just happens to be a Bard.
Yeah, and that Bard will most likely stay in the bed for a while, because we don't have a spoon for him.
Yeah, let's just let Edward sleep in today. I think we may see Zeke, however, with that package. Go turn that in right now. Showing a lot of maturity here. Checking that Sand Ruby prior to checking the package in case he wanted the Sand Ruby character, but not the package character. In this case, he probably doesn't want the package character either. He already turned down a Rosa, which surprised me, but he probably won't want this Porum either.
Yeah, and this is interesting. Might be considering maybe going all in with a Soya.
Could be. Gotta find him first, of course, and we may find him up here in Zot. Bardic Panda just 1 boss fight away, which hopefully, yes, is only 1 blue robe, so this is a Water Hag. Relatively quick fight, thankfully, for Bardic Panda, and we'll see our 2 upcoming characters here. Could be the guy.
Yeah, it's nice to see the Water Hag come up here. It's a scripted fight, so you're actually. So all it really requires is 3 hits. That's all it needs, and you're pretty much through that fight. You love to see Water Hag in any spot that isn't early game.
Yep, this is not a bad location to find him. 9,000 HP at this location, generally. So you would prefer to see him on the moon, where you have bosses with 25, 30, 42,000 HP to speed it up a little bit. But, you know, there are worse places to find Water Hag, and you may never find him, which would be the true crime.
Yeah, I've seen it happen a lot where Water Hag doesn't show up, period. So our first character is Rydia.
A fantastic anchor. That's pretty much all I can really say about her right now. But we already have a fantastic anchor in Tella, so I don't think Bardic Panda will be taking the summoner today.
No, not at all. So next up on the second character is going to be our Cecil.
The guy has been located, so that's unfortunate for, well, Bardic Panda. Bardic Panda did not do Evelyn, does not have that Crystal Sword, does not have an Excalibur. So Cecil will be swinging, I'm not sure what, the Avenger maybe. If we happen to take him, and I certainly hope we do. Bye, Tella. However, Zeke will be very happy once he kills that Karate down there at Feymarch, finds his Earth Crystal, and climbs the Tower of Zod.
Although we did end up missing it, we did see Tower Key from Sheila 1.
So another objective that we need to do, we have to destroy the super cannon, and I wouldn't be surprised if Zeke heads straight down there to do that right now, because after all, do your objectives.
Yeah, just do your objectives as much. Just do your objectives. You're in this, and especially in this case where you're very much comfortable in doing your objectives. You just because of the fact that you have 2 adamant armors available to you on your cane and your edge, you don't need to worry too much. You'll get 2 key items out of here as well. Potential key items as well from here. And we know from Zeke that the bottom of the tower where Dr. Lugue is at is guarded by the Magnet Sisters.
Which should be of no problem whatsoever to Zeke with those 2 adamant armors. Opting to do the tower super cannon room first, finding Darkham's here, which is very vanilla, but I'm here for it.
Yeah, this is just pure vanilla. Full stop. I mean, you like to see Dark Imps on the spot because it is very much a free fight.
So Dark Imps are a free fight, as you mentioned, which means there are certain things that they don't have, specifically a boss bit. You actually sometimes like to see them up on the moon. You can stop them, you can coffin them, you can life glitch them and get your grind out of a single fight. But not today. Dark Imps are vanilla. We don't get a whole lot of XP for them, but at least we get through the fight quickly. And to answer a question from Lord Hayati in chat, the adamant armor glitch, I believe he's referencing the adamant sickness that you get from removing the adamant armor. Do you mind explaining that, Professor Renderer?
Oh yeah, so if you were to take off the adamant armor, you're quadruple weak to the 3 main elements, that being fire, ice, and lightning.
Yep, you just are so attached to that adamant armor that you can't bear to be without it, and Rubicon really, really hurts. But up here at the top of the tower, we have our Maggot System that you mentioned. Bardic Panda has completed. The tower was out, found the Baron Key, changed again into 2 objectives. What are we looking for? We are looking for a Darkness Crystal, and we are in no mode.
Yes. So for Zeke's sake, as we mentioned already, Zeke really needs to head down to fight Yang at the Leviathan spot. I can see why he might be a little bit concerned if more to the tune of maybe maybe wanted to get more experience for Yang and Pala. That might be the case. If you want to go for Quake Kid in that scenario, just to help a little bit, and also maybe just or something to that tune. I don't know.
Yeah, all roads lead through that Yang, as you mentioned. Zeke is running out of options, thankfully. So probably the best case scenario, and I think it's becoming more likely as long as we don't pull it here at the top of tower, is that darkness is behind one of these Baron checks. And that would actually be best for Zeke in this situation. Zeke needs Bardic Panda in this situation to get baited to the moon, not turn in Sheila 1. I'm not sure if he set up Sheila 1. So if he did not and gets baited to the moon, full clear that he's going to not find that super cannon key for quite a while, allowing Zeke an opportunity to catch up. But if he did create or set up the situation to turn in Sheila 1 and remembers to turn it in, then Bardic Panda may be quite a bit in lead.
I do know that I do remember since the tower key came from Sheila 1, and that meant that Sheila 1 was already set up.
Oh, right. But I mean, Zeke had the tower key and Bardic Panda does not.
Yes. So in the meantime, Bardic Panda is going to go ahead and start the first of 2 Baron key objectives, that being the Odin spot fight.
We find an Antlion down here. Again, Adamant armor just makes so many things easier. You'll see Antlion punching for 1 damage on edge, as is normal for someone wearing Adamant armor in the back row. Trying to avoid counters by jumping, by darting, maybe clearing out his inventory at the same time, because there are counters from this Antlion which hits for a decent amount of damage, and also hits through Adamant armor, notably.
Yeah, so just wanting to avoid that counter if he can.
But throwing caution to the wind here. Zeke, in the meantime, doing more trap chests here in Upper Babel. Lower Babel. Lower Babel generally doesn't have very good loot distribution on T Wildish or T Pro. For the most part, I believe the lowest chance of a tier 8 in the game at about 10% per chest here that is trapped. So maybe looking for something specific, more likely to find tier 6 than tier 7 than tier 8, and generally not finding anything that can help him or his party out.
Zeke does find a Bahamut summon, but I don't see it being used. Just because I feel, because I currently could, with the party situation currently between both our players, we're definitely seeing a case where we want to just go power overwhelming at the end of the game. So, and not just bother with playing with slow play. Oh, and there's that darkness crystal from the super cannon.
So that's actually bad for Zeke in this situation. Zeke may now be tempted to go to the moon and fade Feymarch. Simultaneously, also bad for Zeke, that Bardic Panda found a pan from that Odin spot, which, if Bardic Panda did not set up Sheila 1, he's definitely going to go do it now. Find his tower key, and at the time of doing tower key, we'll find darkness. Bardic Panda is well on his way to go mode very shortly.
Yeah, and this is something that you, and I get why Zeke did this to begin with, because you were already down in you're already down in the underground. You might as well activate Sheila 1 while you're in the general area. But in this case, this won't that actually ends up being the wrong move by virtue of the possibility that Zeke goes up to the moon and we'll find out that it was haunted from what we know.
Yep. We don't know if Zeke will do that or not. He may opt to take Feymarch. He is taking a grind right now, which could push him back down to Feymarch. He just wants a few more levels to more quickly get through those fights. He already should have sufficient protection for his multiple admins, but yeah, may always want a little more speed and clearing. Bardic Panda, meanwhile, finding a duplicate Cecil up here in Baron, so that is our dupe. We have 13 characters in the seed, and only 12 unique characters, so we get one dupe, and it is the guy. Now they're no longer the guy, they are a guy and a guy too.
Yeah, and I feel like with Bardic Panda, in this case, getting the because of the situation where you don't have a double we don't have like another 2 holy swords like Zeke does, you're only gonna take the one Cecil and nothing else. So that's why Bardic Panda opts to dismiss the second Cecil.
And really, one Cecil's enough. You don't really need two. Really, 2 Berserkers is enough, I find, in these seeds. Rewarded with a pass for completing Baron, so we may never see the LST at all on Bardic Panda's side. There is no reason to go in there. We don't have to walk down to the... We don't have to do anything, really.
Yeah, this is definitely a good situation for Bardic Panda, just by virtue of as we're getting to the point where once Bardic Panda finishes heads back over to heads back underground to start the Sheila checks, he will be in go mode by getting that tower key and subsequently the darkness key or the darkness crystal.
Yep, I definitely don't see Bardic Panda fading top of tower when he has to climb all the way up in order to take care of that super cannon room. So yeah, we're probably T-minus about 8 minutes from Bardic Panda being in complete go mode. Just has to clear the Giant of Babel, and with a Cecil, with an Edge, with 2 Adamant armors, there's really nothing there that can pose him a threat. So he is pretty much in full sprint in the home stretch, probably maybe done with the seat within 20 minutes.
Yeah, and this is especially considering that Bardic Panda it needs to get this win so that way he'll find out some way to get into the play-in race.
Yeah, Bardic Panda, I mean, with his back against the wall, is performing fantastically and has made some very lucky checks or some very fortuitous checks. And, finding that adamant armor just before a very difficult demon wall fight has been a huge turning point for him. And choosing not to fade that Fey March has put him firmly in the lead right now.
Yeah, and it looks like Zeke is done with this A grind. He's going to go head down into the Fey March.
So Zeke is making the absolute right play here. I'm not sure if it's his only play at the moment, but he will find an Earth Crystal now behind that Yang and be on the Bardic Panda's tail. But with the amount of lead that Bardic Panda has accumulated thus far, it's probably at least 5, if not 10 minutes. Zeke's going to have to find some way to make that up.
Yeah, for sure. Because right now, Bardic Panda is going ahead and doing these Sheila checks. Already bonked Yang on the head. And yeah, for our case, we didn't really mind seeing the defense sword. Just even if it's not, you probably would wanted to see the Darkness Crystal earlier than that. But like on the Sylph Cave, but it's fine enough. Bardic Panda is gonna go ahead and start heading over to the Bull, talk to Sheila, get that tower key that will lead to the Darkness Crystal after the Super Cannon.
Yep, Bardic Panda is playing very efficiently here, doing, maximizing his key item checks based on minimum amount of time required and following his objectives, and he's being rewarded for his routing. Zeke's still hot on his heels, so anything can still happen. And yeah, you definitely don't mind seeing that defense sword. It is Cecil's 3rd best weapon, Kane's actual best weapon minus the Avenger. So we have enough equipment for all of the melees in Bardic Panda's party, and he's probably feeling pretty happy about that. Oh, there's the Legend Sword, by the way. I'm not sure if we can find an Adamant anywhere, but if we can, well, we have a shiny sword for Bardic Panda's guy as well.
Yeah. Now, one thing that's interesting to note, since Zeke has taken a grind, I would imagine he's not gonna bother with picking up either Cecils.
That is a definite possibility. He does have the Crystal Sword calling his name, but yeah, the grind is already done. You still, however, have second grind coming up. That Giant of Babel, 500,000 XP if you have at least 10 key items, and I believe we do have 10 key items on Zeke's side, and more than 10 on Bardic Panda's side, so there could be an incentive to go do that, but at the same time, you have to keep Cecil alive at the end of both of those fights, and that may be a challenge.
Yeah, because he actually did have that those 10 kingdoms after the darkness crystal picked up.
Yep, so he'll be getting double XP. Of course, that's probably why he decided to delay his grind until just about now, having done those eggs. And we'll be getting double XP here from Feymarch. So yeah, there may be an incentive not to do it. Possibly he could determine that he wants to drop that Palom and just go quad Zerker, which is a strategy at least I have not seen during this particular tournament. But could speed up a Z fight, could speed up, say, a very punchy or very high HP spot like the Ellis spot up there on the Giant, and maybe save him a little bit of time.
Now, the question does become: Will that be fast enough to make up the deficit that Zeke has compared to Bardic?
I would argue probably not, unfortunately. The deficit is relatively high right now, and the problem with equipment and the problem with power is that it has diminishing return the further you go on in the seed. An adamant armor you find at 10 minutes is gigantic. An adamant armor you find as your last key item turn in order to get a crystal, far less, because you have the advantage of enjoying that adamant armor for like an hour and a half versus just one fight as Aromas. So yeah, I'm not sure if it's going to pick up that much time, but at this point Zeke needs to pick up whatever time he can in order to stay in the race.
Yeah, and the good news is that Zeke is opting not to go and head into the darkness to atop the lunar subterranean for the darkness crystal. This is exactly what if you're in a situation like this is exactly what you want to see. For our sake, that's what we wanted to see from Zeke.
Yeah, for Zeke's sake, he's making the right call here, chasing his objective now that he's found it. And for both of our runners, both of them opting to ignore that Cave Luca. They both had that Luca key for the entire time. Neither of them poked their head into it, as far as I remember, and there's probably nothing down there of interest, so good on both of them for avoiding that. Also good for Zeke is that Bardic Panda's looting a lot over here in Lower Babel. Taking trap chest, probably looking to spike a Crystal Sword or an Excalibur, something better than that defense sword for his Cecil to wear. Maybe, probably not going to find it, I believe. Zeke checked the last trap chest in here, and I don't believe we found anything of interest. So that is, however, delaying Bardic Panda's go mode, and will probably buy Zeke a little bit of time here.
Yeah, this was something that we mentioned earlier. The fact that Zeke ended up going to Evelyn Castle and completing it fully, rather than as opposed to Bardic Panda, who opted to fade it outright. He's faded the trap chest outright. Shows that this might be a situation where should Zeke choose to pick up that Cecil because of the crystal sword that he has in the inventory, this might actually help. This might actually be a better case for him. But then again, the deficit is still pretty big.
But the deficit is there. The deficit is big. But I just don't want it's not something that Zeke cannot overcome. Notably, Bardic Panda needs to get through, this fight here at Super Cannon, needs to get through Magus Sisters at the top, needs to sit through the cutscene as he exits the tower, and then doesn't have the levels, doesn't have the HP that Zeke does, so he may not be feeling that confident for going up to the Giant immediately. Zeke, however, does have that level advantage. Will be done with Zot probably about the same time that Bardic Panda is done with Babel, and really he's just 2 checks behind. He's just Baron Odin Throne and Baron Throne behind Bardic Panda, so maybe just a 5-minute difference between these 2 runners right now.
Yeah, that might just be what it comes down to. But Super Cannon is destroyed for Bardic Panda, and will continue up to the Magus Sisters, which makes sense because you're still looking for your Darkness Crystal go mode,
which you could find from like a half tower play. I mean, we didn't get that key item yet from destroying the tower. We know it's not the Darkness Crystal, but Bardic Panda may have been tempted temporarily to go do it, but is making the right play here, finding the last monster chest as well, still looting, looking for a shiny sword for that Cecil. Another advantage that Zeke has, he's going to find that pan, and he's probably not going to feel tempted to go turn it in at all. because he's going to be in go mode by the time he is also done with Baron Castle.
Yeah, and just as I suspected, Zeke is not taking that Cecil just because by virtue of the levels of the grind that he took.
The one thing I'd like to note, though, Zeke still doesn't have a dedicated healer. He doesn't have a Fu, he doesn't have a Rosa. I'm not sure if he picked up any Cure 3 or not, but he is going to be missing some Thorough-Put, some healing on that Zeromus fight when he eventually gets to it. He also doesn't have that Crystal Ring either, so he doesn't have a good agility anchoring situation. He may just be hoping to have everyone just swing down some Bacchus and get through it, and it may work. I mean, with the amount of power that he's going to have, look at the amount of HP he has now, 4,300 on Yang, 2,700 on Edge. Imagine what those are going to be after he's got another 500,000 XP on that Giant.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting. It's an interesting call to see happen. I'm actually interested to see if this will end up working out for Zeke. If power overwhelming is enough with the amount of HP that the party members have, it will be enough to route through the rest of the game and route through the Zeromus fight, despite not having any healing.
Yep, we have both of our runners with triple Berserkers. But I think Zeke's Berserkers will be doing more damage than Bardic Panda's Berserkers. That Rosa is going to be the big question, whether Zeke can or cannot muscle his way through Zeromus. And I am here to see it.
Yeah, it was a bold move to make from Zeke to not pick up a white mage. Just thinking that running Yang, Edge, and Kane was enough to continue your way through the rest of this game without any healing.
Oh, one thing I want to point out, Steel G101 in chat points out, and I missed it, Zeke is actually our first runner on stream to be in go mode. That Baron Key was his go mode. Bardic Panda just hitting go mode, well, when he gets out of here. Actually, yeah, the spoon was here. Crap. He could have actually just ignored the top of tower and found his Darkness Crystal. So Bardic Panda will be in go mode momentarily once he gets to the bottom here. But actually, this is really, really close. By the time he exits Babel, Zeke could be done with the Odin Throne and just be one check behind Bardic Panda heading up to the Giant.
Yeah, so Zeke going to play it safe, just to do the liberate Baron Castle objective first before taking on Odin. We know this Odin fight should not be a big concern for him.
Absolutely, no concern at all. 4,000 HP at this spot. Will be going down in about 1, 2, 3. Down he goes. Just gotta wait for the crumble. But yeah, Bardic Panda, Zeke. Pretty much Zeke is one check behind. It didn't look that close, but somehow Zeke has caught up on quite a bit of time. And if Bardic Panda slips up, Zeke could very well take the lead here, especially with considering that Zeke had that grind and Bardic Panda does not.
Okay, so here's another Cecil that Zeke is not going to take, but again, that's totally fine. Just considering the grind that he just finished up from doing, from going through a bunch of eggs. So, like, and I don't blame him. Like, if you feel like your party's all locked in at this point, maybe if your party is locked in and maybe you're thinking, oh, now is a good time for Rosa. I don't think that's in the cards for Zeke, but it's something that might be considering. Maybe that might have been an option for him in that period of time.
Yeah, I agree. Zeke probably feels committed to his party. He's already invested so much time and so much experience into them, so he doesn't feel compelled to take a Cecil even with a Crystal Sword. Can't blame him on the decision. And I hope it works out for him. But yeah, he's going to be going into this without a white mage. Though one potential wrinkle is, what if there's a Fu behind the Giant?
That's another thing. I don't know. So as you mentioned, Fu can be a really good anchor, because you could just slap on a cursed rain and just have him be anchor for the rest of the game, and also while at the same time doing stuff. If a Fu were to show up on the giant, I'm curious. I think Zeke might take it. I don't know.
I mean, if it were me, that Palom is gone. I just have to admit that, yeah, that Fu is not going to nuke for as much as that Palom. However, that Fu brings a lot more utility than that Palom does.
Yeah,
But there may just not be a Fu here, because we still have the Lunar Dais waiting for us as well.
Yeah, and we're also, and also at the same time, we're already enough bosses through that the Visoya challenge is already completed.
Yep, absolutely. That Fu is a fully powered battle station right now.
And interesting to note too, Bardic Panda is still still looting for anything to put that's given to Cecil.
Yep, I think right now the big difference is going to be that Zeke has a grind and Bardic Panda does not. That could speed up this Elements fight, and yeah, Bardic Panda taking the last arm chest, which is in its vanilla location. Very interested to see if we spike something here. There's a decent shot at a tier 8 here. We could spike that shiny sword, which I think would be huge for Bardic Panda.
If this leads to something for Cecil, this will be well worth it. It does not.
Cecil, you want a stick? Well, not the stick you actually wanted, a different stick. It's charming.
Oh, okay. So you're still running with a defense sword, but
It isn't bad.
yeah, but or the adventure sword. Yeah, defense. Yeah, we're gonna go with defense sword. We're gonna have adventure sword. On just a bit, we're gonna have to go through this 65,000 HP spot here, which is CPU.
Ooh, you do not want a defense sword on here. Or, I'm sorry, you don't want an Avenger on here.
Yeah. This will be quite a long fight.
This is the long fight, and you do not want to, be smacking down that attacker and defender and initiate a whole bunch of Globe 199s, which will still one-shot your party, likely even through that adamant armor.
Yeah, no matter what, you're not getting through a Globe 199, just even with an adamant armor.
Now, if you didn't feel like your party was leveled enough, there's something called an orb grind that you can do here. I wouldn't recommend it, but...
Yeah, I don't know. Now, if Bardic Panda doesn't get through this, an alternative method is you take a D machine grind. In the times I've seen, in all the matches I've seen in Adamant Cup, not once have I seen a D machine.
Yeah, D-Machine grind are just generally too slow. A lot of the grinds we've seen in other tournaments, whether they're 30 Siren Than a Dream, Doors, down in Luca Cave, a D-Machine or a Mac Giant grind, they're just less viable on this particular flag set because they're slow. It's unfortunate, but you don't really want to invest 15 minutes to get the power overwhelming when you can do stuff like Trap Chest and get power overwhelming by finding Adamant or something like that. So I don't think we'll see that tonight. I think Bardic Panda will have an easy enough time getting through this fight, especially with that Rosa. Zeke may have a harder time without a form of healing, but we'll have more offense to get through this fight, and we are now tied here at the element spot.
Yeah, Zeke has made up the time. We'll see if this will be enough to punch through and just get through this without an issue. Zeke being astute and noting that you can put the Thunderclaw on, and it will do more damage here for this against the CPU.
Actually, unfortunately, it won't. I mean, as much as I'd like to think that CPU is a machine, he is not.
He's not. Okay, I was thinking he was. You know, like it I mean, it says CPU in the name, right? So.
Absolutely.
I'm actually surprised it's actually not a machine.
Man, I wish he was a machine. These fights would be a whole lot easier, but no, unfortunately that Thunderclaw is actually a good thing for Zeke, because that Charm Claw he's had equipped on Yang actually lowers his accuracy, and in turn may lower Zeke's offense. But instead, that Thunderclaw, while not doing bonus damage, will increase Yang's accuracy and help him do a little more damage on this back row CPU. However, now we're seeing the weakness of not having a white mage. I'm not sure how Zeke's going to get through this fight, as that attacker slowly whittles down his party's HP.
I think he might be going through this with cure potions.
Well, hopefully his stack of cure potions lasts enough, and cure 2s may not do it. It's gonna be rough.
Yeah, this will have to be close, especially considering this is on the 65,000 element spot.
But notably, he is doing a lot of more damage with that edge. Zeke's edge is doing more damage than, say, his partner over there on Bardic Panda side. The melee's over on Bardic Panda side doing about 1,500 to swing. That edge over on Zeke's side, 3,000. So quite a bit of a difference here.
For sure, yeah. This I don't know if this will come into effect where Cecil or Zeke may take the lead just by virtue of that higher damage compared to Bardic Panda. It feels like it is.
Well, he still needs to get through this challenge of his life slowly dwindling away. Cure 2 can only go so far, and that Yang is taking a lot of damage per attack, about 440, 10% of his HP, whereas you look over at Bardic Panda side, they're taking about 120, 150 each because they just have a lower HP total. Percent pace damage is something that adamant armors just don't help against.
Right. But Bardic Panda gets through takes care of the main CPU. I feel like this is a byproduct of having to use Cure 2s as your only method of healing. It's gonna go ahead and toss that spoon.
That is a good use of the spoon. We're probably pretty close to that CPU dying. I'm sure we're well over halfway, but that party is not looking too healthy. It may be time for something called Plan Q, which is where you berserk up your berserkers and pray.
Yeah, this might I just have to come down to it, as Bardic Panda is through the CPU fight.
So Bardic Panda strikes first. Let's see if Zeke can stay in this. Taking a wipe here would be devastating, unfortunately.
Yeah, you do not want to see a wipe happen from Zeke. You want to get through this fight fast. You're innocent. This is probably just the unfortunate situation where the lack of a healer is possibly gonna cost him.
Out come the Quakes. It's a little bit of a desperate play for Zeke right here, but neither desperate time. But we have to be close. I'm sure we've seen at least 40, 50,000 damage come out on Zeke's side. That CPU only has 65,000 HP. We can see it disappear momentarily now, and we better hope it does.
Bardic Panda, in the meantime, is going to go ahead and enter the CPU spot. Plague is here.
So that second Quake here on Zeke's side is going to knock down that attacker. This CPU is ready to Globe 199. We better hope these attacks get through it.
I don't think it's going to happen. No.
That is very unfortunate on Zeke's side, and he will have to approach his fight again, giving Bardic Panda effectively a gigantic lead here.
Yeah, and this is something that was the big unknown that we were that was going to be from this fight. was it despite the levels, was it enough to get through? And the answer is unfortunately no.
No, unfortunately not with Cure 2. If he had picked up some Cure 3, there were some elixirs early on, that might have been the difference, but yeah, Zeke is behind by at least a few minutes at this point. Bardic Panda now about to receive his crystal by completing the Giant Babel. There's that Foo. I'm sure Zeke will be happy to find him and wishes he had him right now, but Bardic Panda will be in that Z fight momentarily.
Yeah, that will be all of his crystals lit up. The rainbow is complete. And it won't be too long to see until we start seeing something in the chat, and also here coming up for Bardic Panda.
Yep, there it is at 1 hour, 37 minutes, and 12 seconds. We have a crystal in hand. Bardic Panda, the first one to engage our final boss and finish the sea out.
And for Bardic Panda's sake, it's going to opt to not take the Visoya, which makes sense since you already have a white mage. It's already fully ready to go.
Yep, Zeke's going to need a little bit of help here. Probably going to need Bardic Panda to take a wipe, which is, fully possible. Anything could happen. A wombo combo or anything like that. Even after that amount of killing, 500,000 XP from killing the two bosses up there on the Giant of Babel, our characters over there on Bardic Panda side are still below level 50 with the exception of Edge.
Yeah, you're right. So the pass is going to be turned in here. And as I say that, there's now stuff in the chat. Something is in the chat.
There's lots of stuff in the chat. There's crystal, there's flags, there's people asking questions, some kind of weird fish.
Yeah, so it's coming around that time where we mentioned this. Yes, we do shuffle bosses around. It's pretty cool, but what we can't shuffle is Zeromus himself because it'd be honestly way too difficult of a fight to shuffle in normally. So what we instead do is we shuffle around the true Zeromus Farms sprite out of a total of around over 5,000 different sprites, possibly counting. So my question is, whose butt are we gonna kick tonight?
Whose dump are we gonna thump? Thanks, Fantasian.
Yes, and is butt cute?
Squiggity Swooty, the Bardic Panda is coming for that booty. But who is it?
Another question really is, does it even have a butt?
I mean, if it doesn't, it will have one by the end of this.
Yeah, it will be kicked for sure. All right, crystal thrown out. Tonight's sprite is a giant cube. It is Andros from Star Fox.
Only I have the brains to rule wherever we are, the moon.
I will be honest. I mentioned this. I mentioned this in sometime in the past. That's honestly a really clever sprite to be considering Star Fox is the Super FX game, and the only way around it is just to make a cube with Andros' face on it.
God, I love that game. First Big Bang Out, did we nerf this? I don't think we did.
I don't think we did. No.
Ooh, that hurts. Not that much, I guess. With those HP values, we probably don't need to nerf. This may be calculated on Bardic Panda side. So he is through the first Big Bang. He's got Zerks running. Zeke on the other side is through that CPU. So good game to him on that. He's going to have to get through that plague, which should be no problem. And we'll see him in Z fight as well very shortly. This is Bardic Panda to lose at this point. If he doesn't drop this fight, he's going to win this match and keep his tournament hopes alive. But he just needs to hold on here, and it shouldn't be too difficult for him with the amount of power he has.
Yeah, even despite the fact that Bardic Panda might be wanting to see a crystal sword here, it's still making do with just the defense sword alone.
Yeah, absolutely. Defense sword, no slouch. I mean, it's about as good as the light sword, only without the holy element. It's certainly no Excalibur, it's certainly no crystal sword, but it'll hit for about 3k. It's not too bad.
Yeah, this At this point, Bardic Panda is just just doing controller down, waiting for a possible a big bang to come through to just get ready for that Cure 4 on hand. If it's enough to keep the party alive.
Now, some of these big bangs do a little more damage, and Rosa is in range of being one-shot by a big bang.
Yeah, now, I don't know if this like with the amount of damage he's doing. I don't know if we're going to see the second big bang. I haven't kept track of I don't usually keep track of the HP, but we are going to see the second big bang.
So this is a dangerous point right here. If Rosa dies here and we tip into rocks immediately, we can see a wipe. But Rosa does not. She's good. Cure 4 will come out, and Bardic Panda should likely be through here.
Yeah, at this point, this is pretty much now definitively controller down.
The game's so easy, it plays itself.
Thanks, ATB.
Flash, bang, crackle, boom, snap, crackle, pop. Zeromus is down, and Bardic Panda is a winner. Our winner tonight specifically, with a time of 1:42.22, going to 1-2 in the Defense Sword group, and keeping his tournament hopes alive. Good game to him.
Yeah, this was a must-win situation for Bardic Panda, and Bardic Panda does manage to take this win. So, still in the running.
Definitely still some work to do on Bardic Panda's side, but he has shown that he can win. He has won tonight against a very well-performing Zeke, and Zeke heading into his Zeromus fight right now, but we'll see if we can get Bardic Panda to join us for an interview shortly.
Yeah, I mean, this is no knock on Zeke. This was definitely a well performed race on Zeke's side. Both players have done incredible work, and here is Bardic Panda in the booth with us. GG.
Yeah, I am surprised I won, honestly. I can think of multiple places where I made mistakes that should have cost me things.
Yeah, I think the biggest deal was the fact that you went for just nothing more than just bum rush and then loot chests whenever necessary. I think that was one factor that helps build up a lead like this.
It probably also helped that I actually forgot that I had the rat tail at first, so I ended up with 2 adamant armors. If I'd had that first one, I might not have gone for the trap chest and the hook route.
Yeah, and I don't know if this ever got mentioned, but there was crystal swords. There was 2 holy swords in Evelyn Castle on the right tower.
Oh, I was so tempted to go back there just for some experience once I got Cecil, but I had so much power already, I just decided, nah, I'll push through.
Yeah, and that makes sense too. The defense sword is pretty much your closest best bet to either an Excal or a crystal sword at that point. So makes sense that you just want to keep the defense sword on hand as like your best weapon in that case.
If I hadn't found a second Avenger when going through things, then I probably would have made that a stop. But defense sword and 2 Avengers, yeah. Just automatic berserk on everybody.
Yeah.
Speaking of automatic berserk, how disappointed were you to find that CP at the element spot?
I had kind of expected it, which is why I made absolutely certain I had the Avengers off of people first. I have had bad luck with finding CPU at that spot, or demist at that spot, or... Yeah, it's just become a habit to make sure just in case.
Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. Just having being astute on knowing when to take off that Avenger, and then knowing that, oh wait, Avenger Sword's on. Shoot, that means that's less damage.
Yeah, sometimes for low HP spots, it doesn't matter much. You can just use it to get through quick. But not there. Not there.
Right.
So take me back to the hook route. You didn't turn the rat tail prior to the hook route, which ended up being adamant armor. Zeke had happened to find that, so we figured he would have an easier time with that evil wall. But then you spiked that adamant armor from the Mad Ogre's chest. What was going through your mind when you found that? And if you didn't find that, what was your plan for Demon Wall?
I hadn't realized there was a demon wall yet, and if I had run into it without the adamant armor, probably trying to mess with my agility and prey. Otherwise, though, I hadn't realized that I skipped the rat tail at the time, and I didn't realize it led straight to the pink tail and adamant armor. So my immediate thought was, if he didn't get this chest, I might be having a lead. Because I can just brute force my way through this now. But then I realized, oh wait, there was another adamant armor. Nope, still neck and neck.
Yeah, it was a very tight race between the two of you for the majority of it. One major point of difference between you and Zeke is that you went down to Fey March and you took those bosses immediately, whereas Zeke faded them for a little bit, giving you an opportunity to build your lead. What made you want to take those Fey March bosses rather than looking for other locations?
2 adamant armors.
I figured that's more than enough of an answer, and I fully agree.
Even if I just had... Well, did I have the 2 by then? I'm not sure I did, actually. I know I had the adamant armor, but having that on Edge especially, I knew I could take them. Even if just Edge survived.
I believe this was before you had the 2 adamant armors. If I was correct.
Yeah, I think it was, because I did pretty much all of the underground I could before going back up. So I just had faith in Edge being able to smack everybody. I had ninja swords on him, I had adamant armor, he could just stab them, and if I was lucky, Rozoin would get experience too.
Well, you definitely showed your master of the adamant armor, at least. I think adamant's been banned from tournament play for so long, people have forgotten how good it actually is, but you definitely leveraged it to its fullest extent tonight.
Oh, being able to do that is exactly why it's usually banned, and I know that and was taking advantage fully.
So
oh, go ahead.
you go.
Well, Panda, you came into this race going 0-2 in your group. You're now 1-2. You're back with a little bit against the wall. Did you keep that in mind? Like, I'm playing for my tournament life tonight.
Not especially. I didn't necessarily go into the tournament expecting to make it to brackets. I'm mostly in it to gain experience and have fun, and if I make it to brackets, then I'll be surprised and try my best. So to me, it's more along the lines of trying to figure out what I did right, what I did wrong, and compare that against better runners than me.
Well, regardless, you by winning tonight, I mean, all you have to do is win your next 2, and you are almost certainly in the play-in race for your group. So you have extended your term life, regardless of not just coming in here for experience, which is a perfectly valid and a great reason to join the tournament, in my opinion. But I mean, you're still playing, so win into your next race.
The next one scheduled will be next week. Still needing to pin down a proper time with Dragus. Nixie is next week for me. But I'm not going into these trying to lose, but I'm not necessarily expecting to win.
Perfectly fair.
I'm just glad I wasn't in the same group as Pancras.
That makes 2 of us.
As am I.
My condolences to the Gaia group.
All right, I'll let you 2 interview Zeke now.
All right, well, thank you very much for putting on a great race tonight, and good game again.
Thank you for the restream.
Up next is Zeke. And here we are. Here's Zeke. GG.
GG.
Okay. I'll let Rabon, I'll let you go first.
Okay, Zeke, there's just one burning question. You're the first person I've seen to go one of these flags without a healer. I mean, that's very bold, and I mean, other than that CPU was doing a crap ton of damage, and you didn't seem to have any problem with Z either. So maybe you're making a new meta, I don't know. What made you want to just skip that Rosa, skip that Porum from the package, even skip that Fu at the end?
I actually heavily debated the Fu, but I realized by the time that Fu had already outlived his usefulness before he had got after the CPU went down.
Yeah, I think that may have been another a reason as to why, because you were hoping to see a Fu before CPU, which in this case it wasn't. So it makes I guess it makes sense that you opted to just go all the way in with just getting triple Zerking and also having Paladin Duke reflect Dukes for quad 9s in that regard.
I had plans for every boss that was left except 2. And that was one of them.
Ooh, let me get the other one. Wyvern.
I did not have a plan for Mr. Blarg himself, no. But who has a plan for Wyvern on CPU, on Elements?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, if you're, like, you have to, like, as soon as you see Wyvern, it's like, oh, great. I guess we're going to Wyvern Standard Time. Joy. And the fight itself is kind of aggravating as it is, because you're dealing with 65,000 health on that Wyvern.
I didn't have a plan to deal with CPU because I knew that it would be very difficult to try and get that much damage done in 10 Mazer shots.
But you still somehow managed it. I mean, I'm sure the spoon helped, but I mean, it was very impressive to get through that fight without any type of healing whatsoever other than Cure 2. I'm sure you wish you had some Cure 3s by that point, but unfortunately, I guess you didn't find them.
Oh, no, I knew exactly where Cure 3s were. They're in the same shop as Cure 2. But I didn't think I'd need them because the seed had been so... I hate to say it, but the seed had been free enough up to that point.
Yeah, I could see it, considering you gone into Eblin Castle, got 2 holy swords, hoping to see a Cecil early on enough, only for then to just decide, okay, we're just gonna go and grind. Our party's locked in fully. We have 2 adamant armors from going over to from first the Rat Tail into Paint Tail, and also the 4 Mad Ogres on the top of Babel.
Yeah, what was your decision-making process when you found that first Cecil and Zot? Were you just like, it's just too late for you, I've already done my grind, I'm not doing it again?
Exactly that. Especially where to get more Sirens, I'd have had to go back into the Feymarch.
Yeah, and that's totally understandable. That was my working theory as well. The grind was already completed. Cecil has already off the table. Even if it was double Cecil, there's no way you finish this. You take a Cecil because you have to re-grind again, and you end up wasting more time.
And again, if it had been anything other than CPU or Wyvern on Elements, I think I was fine.
I mean, with the amount of power you had, you probably were. It's just unfortunate that CPU just happened to be right there. One other thing, too. You got that Darkness Crystal before Bardic Panda did. Before you had done Feymarch, what made you want to go back to Feymarch rather than dive in the moon looking for your go mode up there?
I have had a lot of seeds where fading Feymarch has cost me a lot of time. And I knew those bosses, well, they hit hard, would be quick after the grind I just did. because it was just Karate he only really does single target damage of any note. And he's got a 50-50 shot of smashing an adamant armor with 3,000 health.
Yep, absolutely. You leverage that adamant armor well. I'm sure you're very happy to have found that rat tail and the pink tail prior to doing your hook route.
I especially like that it was rat tail into hook tail after discussion that was going on general chat out in the server. There was entire discussion on rat tail into pink tail earlier.
Some percent of the time, it happens every time.
Yeah.
I haven't done them.
And the only reason I actually went looking for that Mad Ogre chest in Tower of Babel, and I'm certainly glad I did, was I needed one more level on Palom to get Quake. And I knew I wanted Quake for that evil wall in front of me.
Certainly rewarded for all the trap chest looting you did. 2 adamant armor, they're usually 2 more than I get for one of these seeds, so. And they make them fly by so quick.
Oh yeah.
Well, I had 2 of the best users of it, too. I am of the opinion that Edge is the best user of adamant armor. Because on top of boosting his strengths in his speed and his attack power, it actually covers the fact that he's the squishiest of the 3 big melees.
True, shored up his weakness.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting point that myself actually never thought about until you just mentioned it. And it's also great too, considering you could just once you have if you were to get a double masa, and on top of that adamant armor, you're pretty much you're covered for the rest of the game. He's as strong as you can possibly be, as he can possibly be at that given point.
Mine was pretty close with Masamura.
Yeah, that was one of the big points as well. Full Moon Ninja into Muramasa combo. That was pretty much the final weapon situation for Edge at that given point.
And I was very pleased to see a Mura come off that very early Twin Harp. Shouts to Vanilla Twin Harp.
Yeah, I just have to admit, that was a very bold play, taking Twin Harp so early without any Berserk or anything like that. I mean, the Murasame was great. I'm sure you were hoping for something else, but it definitely sped you up. And also that power shirt, you pulled quite a bit of power from that cave.
Yeah, I forgot I looted the checks along the way and found that power shirt. That was huge. Although power shirts were kind of everywhere on the seat. I had like 4 of them show up.
Yeah, it's like Oprah handing out power shirts. You get a power shirt, and you get a power shirt. Even you, Palom, you can have that too.
Except you, Edge, you get an adamant armor.
Poor Edge. So Zeke, you fall to 2-2 in the Defensor group tonight, but you have 1 race left. Who's it against?
That'd be the other person in my group with a red mage icon of choice. I'm playing Dragus.
So when is that race coming up?
That is tomorrow at 10 Eastern.
So that's a very high stakes race. Dragus, I believe, is 3-0 in the Defensor group. You being at 2-2, a victory tomorrow night would guarantee you a spot at the very least in the play-in race. How are you feeling about that race tomorrow?
I'll be honest, I didn't expect to be 2-2 at this point. I expected to be 0-4. Because this is my 5th ever free enterprise race.
But you're certainly outperforming, for someone who would be so new. Apparently you showed us before the race you have an experience with randomizers, so maybe some skills carry over.
I've played some casual stuff for a while, and then when the term came up, I was just like, this has been fun. Let's go.
Well, I wish you all the luck in that race tomorrow night. I hope to catch it if I can. But yeah, you've definitely shown a lot of promise in just your 5th free enterprise race, and we hope to see more of you.
I imagine I'll be around more for certain. This is a fun randomizer.
And a great community.
And a fantastic community, I agree.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
So, Professor, any final questions for Zeke, or Zeke, any final comments?
Not that I know of.
Just the niceties, of course. Thank you to... I think I'll start on the other end today instead of commentators. Thank you to S. Grunt for handling the restreaming side of it, the race, and also for rolling that phenomenal seed. Moonless is an interesting thing to have in these flags. Thank you to Warlink for doing the tracking. I don't actually know what goes into the tracking system on this in this community, but I imagine it's a valuable job, of course. If my experience with trackers for other randomizers is any experience. And of course, thank you to Rybon and Professor Renderer for handling commentary.
No problem.
And of course, a big GG to Bardic Panda, who I found out I have connections through other communities too, so that's also cool. But
It's a small world.
that's what I said.
Yeah.
Even on the internet, it's a small world after all.
Well, Zeke, again, GG'd, and thank you very much for being part of our race room tonight. It was a fantastic race run tonight and a great amount of fun watching. And
Absolutely.
with that, and with that, I think we're done for tonight. Well, we're done here on Free Enterprise 1, but we're raiding on over to Free Enterprise 2 for another Adamant Cup race, group race between Neon Gray and Mike34 in the Gaia hack group. So no spoilers per usual, unless you get the bonk. I see Scala Kitty in chat, so yeah, try to avoid it because she does hit pretty hard, I've heard.
Yeah. Until then, take it easy, everybody.
Yep. Thank you all very much and have a good night.